In Acts chapter 14, Peter and John were brought before the Sanhedrin to answer for the teaching they were bringing to the crowds. Notice what was said about them. When they saw the courage of Peter and John and realized that they were unschooled, ordinary men, they were astonished, and they took note that these men had been with Jesus. The education and training that Peter and John had received was not that which was expected by the world. They didn't have any degrees. They had not attended seminary. Their qualifications were this: they had been with Jesus. Companionship was the tool Christ used to train His leaders. He would look at a man and say, "Follow me." You see, He understood the truth of Proverbs 13:20. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. The truly important things in life are taught through companionship. Who your children spend their time with will determine whether they become wise or become fools. This is why God has commanded you to teach your children the important things of life when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. But unless you're independently wealthy, or you have a family business that enables your children to work with you on a daily basis, then you probably find yourself in the same position as me, putting in 40 hours a week working outside the home, away from your children. I will assume that you are not putting a double curse on your wife. The Bible makes it clear that the man is to bear up under the curse of painful toil in providing for the family. On the other hand, your wife is to bear up under the curse of the painful struggles of bearing and rearing children. Her curse is hard enough as it is. It's a foolish man that asks his wife to bear his curse as well as hers. If you ever want to have the kind of multi-generational household that will make you a godly elder and a great statesman, then you desperately need your wife to be busy at home, providing the day-to-day training and instruction your children need. She can see to it that their children are taught the basics so that you can spend the companionship time you have with them, teaching them the important things that only you can teach. But even the most diligent and efficient mother is still going to find it hard to find the time to provide all the teaching she would like to provide to her children and still get other things done, like paying bills or sewing clothes. This is where the power of E64 really comes into play. Using E64 is like hiring a private tutor for each one of your children. A tutor who can go over the basics again and again, as many times as needed, testing them until they've demonstrated mastery of the material. E64 will run on any common Windows PC computer sold in the past few years. The only hardware requirement is that there be enough hard drive space available to hold all the lessons. You can pick up a used computer on eBay these days for about $100. So for many families, the smart thing is for each child to have his own inexpensive E64 computer. And now, here's Bethany to show you how E64 helps my wife, Jacqueline, plan for some special times to focus on important tasks and still manage the children's education.
Hi, my name is Bethany, and this is my mother, Jacqueline. Tell us what you're doing today, Mom.
I'm working in the office today. I have about 4 hours worth of work to do to finish up our income taxes for the year and get them in the mail. And since the children are a great interruption to that process, making it virtually impossible to finish, Maddie is going to be supervising their schoolwork today for me, and they're all forbidden to come in the office.
So the children are on their own. What are they doing? Does today have to be a non-school day? Not at all, because we use E64. Let's start in the den and see what the children are doing. We have 3 laptop computers set up here in the den. Let's visit with Sutara first. Hi, Sutara. Why don't you tell us what you're working on today?
I'm working on E64 math.
Wow. So what other things can you do with E64?
English, history, science, and Bible studies.
That's neat. So how do you know what lesson you're supposed to be working on?
I don't have to know. I just log in with my name, and the program goes right to the lesson where I'm supposed to be. And if I stop in the middle of a lesson, when I sign back in, it remembers where I was.
That's great. Let's go take a look at what Madison and Gavito are doing. Hi, boys. What are y'all working on today?
Learning to read.
What are you reading about?
Noah the Ark. It's so cool. Look, here's all the animals coming out of the ark.
That is cool. Let's go see what Madara is working on. Hi, Madi. I see you doing your E64 schoolwork. What are you studying?
Today I'm learning about how to care for babies and infants.
Aw, that sounds so exciting. What else will you do today?
Today is Mom's bill paying day, so in addition to my own schoolwork, it's my job to see that the children do their chores and their schoolwork. There are not enough computers for everybody, so while Joshua is doing his E64, I have Yedick working on his chores. After about an hour, I'll have them swap out. I do the same thing with Armand and Sitara.
How do you know what each child needs to be working on?
Mom has chore cards she makes for each one of the children, so I just have to read their card to know what chores they are supposed to do. And she has already made their lesson plan for E64, so I just follow the lesson plan for each child. The computer keeps track of their schoolwork. All I have to do is make sure they are working and not being idle.
How do you do that?
That's easy. Watch this. If I press F3, it comes up with a daily record showing everything I've done today, including the times. So from time to time, I just go around, look at the daily record for each of the children. I can see everything he or she has done or not done, as the case may be.
Thank you, Madi. Let's go see what's going on in the great room. Here we have Armand. What are you working on today, Armand?
Right now I'm working for Wally, building question sets for just the Bible. Wally makes the videos and I do the question sets.
That's interesting. What else will you be doing today?
I will have to do my E64 lessons.
What kind of lessons?
Math, English, history, science, and Bible studies.
Thank you so much, Armand. Now let's go see what Wally's doing. Hi, Wally. What are you working on?
I'm working on creating the video for the next lesson in Mom's Learning to Read lesson series.
Wow. Will you be doing anything else today?
Yes, I'm going to be working on my E64 lessons.
Thank you, Wally. And now, we see how Jacqueline can keep the children on track with their schoolwork and still have time to get her important paperwork done. The key is the lesson plan feature of E64. Because she has designed lesson plans for each of the children, E64 will provide the instruction with very little intervention needed by a teacher.
Let's take some time now to learn how to use the lesson plan feature of the father-directed mode. When you first load E64 on your computer, it's going to be in the student-directed mode. This is what the E64 page looks like in student-directed mode. You notice that the student has access to these menu options: Family Worship, Choose Lesson, where the student can choose his own lesson, the Competition mode, the Setup Users, and the Lesson Creation. If we're going to build lesson plans for each of our students and have E64 manage their education, then we have to get out of the student-directed mode and get into father-directed mode. In order to do that, we first of all click on Setup Users. So let's select the menu option, Setup Users. When you click Setup Users, a login page will open, And what you want to select is Father. Select Father. There'll be no password, so you just click OK. What this will do is it will open up your user's configuration window. Here you notice the user's configuration window. And if we want to set up users accounts for each one of our students, we have to check this box here that says check here to require users to log in. If we don't require the users to log in, then whenever E64 comes up, it will always come up in the student-directed mode. So let's check this box here. Now when E64 comes up, it will come up with a list of the users, and you will have to select a user and log in as a particular user. Now here's where you will actually input your users. You can modify the information for a user. You could delete a user, and you can add your new users by clicking this button here that says New User. This box up here that says Teacher Approval Password, this is what you will use if you want to set up a particular student to require teacher password approval in order to move between sections. So right now, let's just type the word love, L-O-V-E, in there. That will be our teacher approval password. So let's close this. Now that we have checked the box here requiring users to log in, notice that the menu options change. Now our menu options are Family Worship, Choose Lesson, Competition, a new option called Student Management. Now that we have the login feature activated, we can do Student Management. We still have Set Up Users, Lesson Creation, and now we have a Logout feature so that you can log out and someone else can log in using their user name. So let's go to Student Management now, and we're going to set up our students. So you click on Student Management. Now you have a list of the students that you created in the user's configuration. That's what these names will be the names that you put in your user's configuration. Let's pick Satara, and let's click this button here that says Edit Student Profile. Now this will have the login, Satara. Now let's pay attention to these. These are important. Notice this Use Father-Directed Mode button right here. If we uncheck that, the rest of these go away. So if you want a student to just be in student-directed mode, which means that they are free to go in and select their own lessons and do their own tests, and this is for students that are just self-guided, or you just tell them what you want them to do and they take care of it, then you do not select the Father-Directed Mode for that student. And when they sign in, they will get the original page that it looked like when we first called up E64. They will be in student-directed mode. However, if you want to be able to assign them a lesson plan, you have to select Father-Directed Mode. Once we select Father-Directed Mode, here is the button where we can require teacher approval. If we select Require Teacher Approval, then that means that every time this student gets to the end of a section and completes a section, a box will pop up requiring you to put in the teacher password, and they will not be able to proceed any further until the teacher puts in a password. So you use this if you have a student that you need to take a careful look at. Perhaps if you are wanting the student to read the material before he moves on to something else, or you want to quiz the student on the material, then you would use this teacher approval password feature. Now notice here it says that the following settings determine the default values that will be entered when you add a lesson to this student's lesson plan. What that means is that when you are building a lesson plan for a student, each lesson will have each one of these features available, and you can set each one of these features for every lesson. So you can set them all differently if you want to. However, this profile is going to set the default values so that when you begin adding lessons to a student's lesson plan, it will automatically assign the values that you put here. So this is what you want to set for the values that you generally want this student to have for each of their lessons. Let's take a look at this. Allow pre-testing. E64 has the capability for most of the lessons to do pre-testing. If you're not sure whether or not the student knows the information, it's not that big of a deal. You can assign the lesson to the student's lesson plan, check pre-testing, and then when the student gets to this lesson, the first thing E64 will do will administer a pretest. If the student passes the pretest with this score right here, the minimum competency score, this is what you want for a passing grade. If they get that score or higher on the pretest, then E64 will skip that lesson and go on to the next lesson. However, if they don't score this score or better on the pretest, then it will go ahead and require the student to go through the lesson. Now this next box here that says reinsert in lesson plan, this also checks the competency score, but it does so for the final exam. When the student finishes the lesson, the program will administer a final exam. If the student does not get this score, whatever you determine is a passing score for this student, then it will reinsert this lesson in the student's lesson plan and require him to do it again. Now this pink box down here, reinsertion position, this is where the program will reinsert the lesson. If he has to repeat the lesson, where do you want him to repeat it? If we put a reinsertion position of 1, then that means it will put it at the top of the lesson plan, and basically he'll just immediately go back and redo the lesson again. However, it's possible that you may be designing a lesson plan that if the student doesn't pass it, you want him to retake it, but you want to let him take 2 or 3, 4 more lessons and then go back and retake it. So that is the purpose of the reinsertion position. It will reinsert the lesson. If he doesn't pass the final exam, it'll reinsert the lesson into the lesson plan at whatever position you put here as a reinsertion position. Now this box, this combo box right here, a combo box is a box with a little arrow, and when you click on it, it opens up a box with some results in it, some choices that you can make. That's called a combo box. This combo box is the skill level combo box, and you can select, and once again, this is the default values. This is what will automatically be assigned to the lesson plan when you insert a lesson, but you can go in and change it afterwards in the lesson plan itself to tweak it to what you want. The skill levels are none, which if you put none, then that means they'll just simply watch the video and there will be no questions. Beginner is for students that really are not very good readers, and it will actually read the questions to them, and it's all multiple choice. Apprentice is for primary, middle school. Master, that's for your high school level students. So let's set up Sitara for apprentice skill level. Father-directed mode. We're not going to require teacher approval. We're going to do pre-testing, and we're going to reinsert with a minimum score of 90 and reinsert position of 1. Now, it's very important that you save changes. So we're going to save the changes, and now we've set up Sitara's student profile. Now that we've set up her student profile, let's go and build her lesson plans. We come up. When you click on lesson plan, this is what the lesson plan window looks like. You notice that there are 3 tabs: available lessons, planned lessons, completed lessons. So you click on available lessons, and this comes up with a list of all of the lessons that you have purchased for E64. So, and when you click on a lesson, it will come up over here. You'll notice that it has the title picture and the description of this lesson. Notice this is lesson number 12 in Jacqueline's Learning to Read series. The only skill level available is apprentice. That's very important. So you'll need to make sure if you add this lesson to the lesson plan that you select skill level apprentice if you're wanting them to do questions, because that's the only questions available for this. There's the play video button here, which will actually play the video if you want to take a look at it while you're trying to decide what lessons to choose. So let's go in and let's decide what we're going to do. Let's pick Fellowship of the Father, and we'll choose just the Bible, say Genesis 27, and we'll select, say, Bubble Trouble. So we'll select these three. Notice that we checked the box here. We checked the box for those three. Then we click on this button that says, click here to add selected lessons to lesson plan. Now notice what happens. Right now it shows the Fellowship of the Father there. We click this button. Fellowship of the Father's gone. You would also notice if we went down and checked that Genesis chapter 27 is gone. Bubble Trouble will be gone. Where did they go? They went to this tab. Now, notice before this tab had nothing. Now we have 3 lessons in Sitara's lesson plan. Now notice what E64 did. When it assigned these lessons to her lesson plan, it assigned them with apprentice skill level because we had set her default for apprentice. It set up pretesting because we set the default to pretesting. It set the reinsert button. It set the minimum score to 90 and the reinsertion position to 1. It did it for all of them because that was the default values that we set. We can change those, however. For example, we could say for Genesis 27, we do not want her to do a pretest. We want her to just go to the lesson. So we can deselect pretest for that, and that goes away. Let's say for Fellowship of the Father, we wanted her to do the beginner level for this. We can select beginner level for the Fellowship of the Father. Now this is a toolbar. And notice if we click on this combo box, it comes up with a whole bunch of tools that are available. You can go through and study those tools and figure out how they work. For one, we can say move selected lesson up or move selected lesson down. This is not selecting this button over here. This button is only to select it if you want to remove it from the lesson plan. To select the lesson to move it up or down, you just simply click on it. So if we click on this, Bubble Trouble, and then we have the tool says move selected lesson up in order, then we can click the execute tool button and look, Bubble Trouble moves up. Click it again, Bubble Trouble moves up again. So this is how you can set your order in which you want E64 to present the lessons to the student. We can also go move select lessons down, and we can move it back down. Notice it gives you some shortcut keys like alternate D. If we click here on Fellowship of the Father and we type in an alternate D, notice it also goes down. Some of the other things are remove checked lessons from template. If we select Bubble Trouble, and we could select all of them or as many of them as we wanted to. Now we have selected for the remove button, we've selected Bubble Trouble. And if we go in here and click on remove checked lessons from template, hit the execute tool button, and Bubble Trouble's gone. We just deleted it from the lesson plan. There's also check the remove box for all lessons, uncheck the remove box for all lessons, set the skill level for all lessons to none, set them all to beginner, to apprentice, or to master. We can check pretesting for all the lessons or uncheck pretesting. We can check video by sections or uncheck, check reinsert or uncheck. And notice this, it says set minimum score for all lessons to the value of the first lesson. So, if we've decided that we want to change the minimum score, we say, well, I want to change them all to 85. We just simply set 85 to the first lesson. Then we select this tool that says set minimum score for all lessons to the value of the first one, hit the execute tool button, and it changes all lessons to 85 for the minimum score. The last tool is to set the reinsertion position of all lessons to the value of the first lesson. Now, we haven't looked yet at video by sections. Let's take a look at that. Video by sections There are some students, it will be just fine for them to be in the normal mode, which is the normal mode is that the video plays, and when the video is done, the question sets come up and they work through the question sets one section at a time. However, if a student is really struggling with the material, then they may need to just simply do the video section by section and do each question set right after they've watched that section of video. And so if you have a lesson that the student is struggling with, you can click video by sections, and then that will set them up so that the video will play one section at a time. So now that we've looked at the planned lessons, let's go and look at completed lessons. There's nothing here. However, if the student has been working through their lesson plan, as they complete final exam for a lesson, those lessons would show up on this tab, and it would show you the date that they took the final exam and what their score was. Notice this button that says click here to require student to redo selected lessons. If you have lessons that students have done but you weren't satisfied, or you just simply say, I would like for them to go back and go over that material again, you can check the boxes here, hit the click button, and reinsert those lessons back into their lesson plan manually. So we now have a lesson plan that features just the Bible and features the fellowship of the Father. So let's save the changes, and now Sitar is ready to go. Now this button says View Students Records. If you click this, it comes up with a record. Of course, right now, Sitar she hasn't done any work. We've just set her up and she hasn't done anything. But if she had done work, it would come up with a printout showing everything that she had done. Now, here's something interesting. Let's take a look at Create or Edit Lesson Plan Templates. When you click on this, this brings up the Lesson Plan Template window. Now, here we have a few lesson plan templates, and we're going to be creating many, many more of these in the future. All sorts of lesson plan templates for different grade levels. But right now, let's just take a look at this. It has a Level 1 Math. Notice down here it says begins with counting, goes through addition. Includes pre-testing and reinsertion. This template does. It has a minimum score of 95 and a reinsert position of 1. This is the description of this template. Now let's open this template and look at it. Here is the template that is called Level 1 Math. Notice the template name up here, Level 1 Math. Level 1 Math includes Math Practice How Many. It's got all these counting lessons, ordinal numbers, the beginner addition, subtraction, and it's got some practicing, more and less, counting, fractions. This is your beginner math template. Notice it told you that it was apprentice, that it had pre-testing, it had a minimum score of 95. Now, this is the way that it comes from us when you get it. You can tweak it. You can also add things to it. You could add whatever math lessons you wanted to this. When you get it the way you want it, you can even save changes to it. You could save the changes, and now you've made it, you've tweaked it and made it the way you want it. Once you get your template the way you want it, now it's time to apply the template to your students. Now this is really cool. It has a list of all of your user accounts. And the reason I say user accounts instead of simply students is because you may have more than one account for a student. For example, let's say that we wanted Sitar to have a math account and we wanted her to have a general account. In other words, we'd have a lesson plan that was just general learning, but then we wanted to have separate a math so that she could go in and just do her math, or she could go in and do her general studies. We could assign her two different accounts, say Sitar Math and Sitar General, and then those would be included in this list. This is all of the user accounts that you have. Now over here, this tells E64 what you want to do with this template. If you click the button that says Append, then for the student, it's going to append these lessons to the end of their current lesson plan. Whatever their lesson plan is, it's going to take these lessons and append them or add them to the end of their current lesson plan. If you check the button that says Integrate, then it's going to integrate these lessons at whatever your integration interval is. For example, let's say that you wanted to take this lesson plan that was math, and you wanted to insert it so that they would have a math lesson every third lesson. Then you type the integration interval of 3, and now every third lesson in their lesson plan, it will insert one of these lessons from this template. So that way you can build complex lesson plans that allow your students to do lessons in the order that you want them to. The third option is simply to replace. If you check Replace, then E64 will replace the student's current lesson plan with this template. And now their lesson plan will only be what is in this template. Now here's where you select, and you can either check this box here that says Select All, and notice that you select them all. You can deselect them all. And of course, the reason for that is so that you can say, well, we'll select them all, but then we'll take out Father, we'll take out Competition, but maybe we want to leave everything else. By the same token, if you say, no, we're going to deselect them all, then I'm just going to choose Yerrick and Madison. And for however many you do, it will do whatever it was that you said that you wanted to do with this lesson plan. It will apply that to all of the students that you selected. But right now, let's just select Sitara. So we're going to select Sitara, and rather than replace, we're going to append. So we're going to append these math lessons to her lesson plan. And you remember her lesson plan had Fellowship of the Father and Genesis 27. So now we're going to apply this template to our selected student, which is Sitara. So click the button. It tells us that the template was applied successfully. We click OK. And if you've made changes, you want to make sure and save your changes. If you didn't make any changes, fine. You can just discard the changes. Now let's get out of here just so that we can go and check and see what happened to Sitara's lesson plan. So here's Sitara. We'll click her lesson plan. There's Genesis 27, Fellowship with the Father. But now I'll look. She has all of those lessons from the math lesson plan were appended to her lesson plan. So now she has all of this math on her lesson plan. Now you can also go to the templates region or the templates page from this page by clicking this button Templates. So let's do that. Bring it back up. Because one other thing we want to show you is the fact that you can not only take the templates that are there and you can change them, but you can create your own templates. So you have, particularly this is useful for a classroom where a teacher wants to assign the same lessons to all of the students in the classroom. You click this Create New Template, and we'll call this My Template. We create the template, and bingo, there is my template. We come down here and we say a description. This is my template. And then when we try to move out of this section, it will ask us if we want to save changes to this description. So we say yes, and now, bingo, we've saved it. We can go into My Template, and we can begin adding lessons and doing the things that we want to do. So the template feature is very powerful for taking entire groups of lessons that come with E64 and assigning entire groups of lessons to your student. So let's discard these changes. And finally, we'll take a look at the Print Lesson Plan feature. If you click the button Print Lesson Plan, it will come up with a printout. You noticed probably in the video that this is what we do. Rather than trying to take the lesson plan and use it in the computer, since we only have 5 computers, but we have 8 students that are all using E64, what we do instead is we do this printout here of the lesson plan, and then Madara or Jacqueline or whoever's monitoring the students, they will go and just quickly set them up a couple of lessons in their in the lesson plan for a computer when they're starting the day on a computer, and that way it doesn't matter which student goes to which computer. You just assign them the couple of lessons that they need for the day, and when they finish the lesson, you write the date and the score of the final exam on the printed lesson plan, and you keep track of it that way. Now that we have designed a lesson plan for Satara, let's see what would happen if Satara actually did it. We're going to log out, and we're going to sign in as Satara. She has no password. So now look at Satara's page. She has the competition menu option. She has the logout menu option. But the only thing she can actually do with her lessons is it says begin lesson. So she begins the lesson, and we have just the Bible. So she watches the video. She closes. Okay. Hunt game for me. So this is the first section. So she does this section when Isaac was old and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see. He called Esau. All right, now, if she clicks this check answers button, notice that all the answers she got right are white. The answers she got wrong are red. And notice that the play video button popped up, which means that now she can play the video, and what it will play is it will play the section of the video that answers the questions in this question set. So for this particular lesson, it would bring up Genesis 27, 1 through 4. Now she has to go through each of these 9 sections before she can do the final exam. When she does the final exam, if she gets a score of 90, since that's what we set up for her lesson plan, it will log that and go on to the next lesson. If she doesn't get a score of 90, it would reinsert this lesson back in her lesson plan, and she would have to do it again. And so we see that E64, once we set up a lesson plan for a student, E64 will just keep track of what that student's doing and just manage the education like a teacher would do, carry the student from lesson to lesson, and provide the oversight, provide the monitoring, provide the accountability, and basically will be like a private tutor teaching the lessons to your student. Now that you have taken the time to learn some of the more advanced features of E64, are you ready to make the most of your learning? Would you like for your family to be able to work together to earn some extra income? Or maybe you want your family to be able to work together to create something that will minister to other families around the world. Then consider becoming an E64 distributor or a curriculum designer. Becoming a distributor opens up so many opportunities to generate income by helping families give their children a biblical education. For example, you can organize E64 home parties where parents can bring their children's laptops, and you will install the software for them and teach them how to use it. Or you can organize and teach an E64 training seminar for your church, homeschool support group, or civic club. Using the competition feature of E64, you can organize a Bible competition, a history competition, or any other E64 competition, getting local business sponsors to provide prizes for the winners, and sell customized lesson packages to all the potential competitors. At each event like this, your family can earn hundreds of dollars. As a curriculum design team, your family can begin by taking one of the instructional videos we have available and developing question sets and tests, turning it into a full E64 lesson. From there, you can move on to writing scripts, producing videos, and creating your own lessons about the things that your family enjoys or that you feel are important. We also offer internships for homeschooled young men age 16 or older, where they can learn computer programming, filmmaking, web design, and other valuable skills. There are also opportunities for your family or church to host an E64 educational event, where families from across the country can get together and learn about a particular topic. So give us a call today to talk about the many opportunities available with E64.